Sony Pony, are you doing a console war in 2022? How about you, Xbot? Are you still doing console wars? This is a common talking point among people who try to shame people out of having tribalistic banter over consoles, plastic boxes. And though I understand the intention of trying to discourage people from doing this, as long as there are two consoles, there will always be console wars. Which, as long as it's kept friendly, I don't think is that big of a deal. But we all have been on Twitter and we know how it goes. People get fucking crazy. And the way I see it, there's two major factors on why this happens. And the first one is obviously tribalism. I'm on this team, you're on that team. This can lead to anger, but a lot of times it's just for fun. People are like, you suck, you're on that team. And the other team's like, oh no, you suck, you're on that team. And this always happens no matter what, if you have two of anything that people like. Whether you drive this car, you drive that car, I got this phone, you got that phone, I got this console, you got that console. People will always side with what they purchased. But a lot of the anger comes from an element I don't think a lot of people talk about. Something I've been preaching for years. They're lashing out as a defense of a potential buyer's remorse they could have for spending their money on something that they could have been wrong about. Now, if you're a baller and you can buy everything and you don't care about it, you get expendable income, that's cool. The average person does not. They had to decide what they're buying, and they probably bought it based off their preference, friend group, or the inherent value they see the console offers them. But most people had to make that choice. And they don't want to feel like they made the wrong choice. When you exist in an ecosystem where people are telling you that you made the wrong choice because you didn't make the choice they made, you could potentially feel stupid. You could feel robbed. You could feel like you just spent your money on the wrong thing. Android versus iPhone, your car versus their car, console versus console. It's because of the decision that they made that a lot of times they will partake in console wars in a more vicious way. They don't want to feel like they made the wrong decision. Well, here's the thing. If you're enjoying yourself, you made the right decision. So I wish people could recognize that element of almost FOMO. Understand that if you're happy with what you bought, you should enjoy it. And if you want to partake in tribalistic banter over plastic boxes, that can be fun, but keep it fun. Because goddamn, people get really fucking aggressive when it comes to the console they prefer to play on. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another TLG Reacts. My name's Seth, and today we will be discussing Dead Island 2. It has been confirmed by Amazon on accident. We'll go into the details, but also Redfall has a behind-the-scenes commentary we're going to watch. Was going to watch it on Tastycast, but Chevy's not going to care about this, so me and you can talk about it. And the video you just saw was one of my TikToks. I have a TikTok. Check it out. I do original content there, and if you liked it, make sure to go check it out and follow me there. I've been making quite a bit of videos over there in the limited time I've had to do anything outside of work a lot and be busy in the summer. Hopefully that'll be over soon. Hopefully you guys have been good. And yeah, let's just jump into what we got to talk about today. All right, let's talk about Dead Island 2. Amazon leaked it and it gave us some details, mostly stuff we already know. We're pretty much just going to go through the pictures it showed since we haven't gotten a fucking trailer for this yet. But apparently it's coming out in February, I think the 3rd of 2023. So early next year. I assume it's going to be priced the same as everything else. I don't remember what it said on that, but it says it's going to be 8-player co-op, which if that's true, that's going to be fucking crazy. I would assume 4 since the last one had that, but 8 is like, I don't know what the fuck you would do with 8 people running around killing zombies. Like, is it going to increase the zombie size if you're going to be fucking having 8 people? Like, if you had 8 people and they had the same amount of zombies as last time, you would just be fucking murdering them all quick. So hopefully we get a trailer soon, maybe at Gamescom. Speaking of Gamescom, we're going to be doing our typical stream of that, so look out for that. I'll have more details on that on Tastycast, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, it's going to be on the West Coast. We already knew that. And you're going to be killing a bunch of zombies, so that's cool. Wish they would show something, though, just because I feel like this should be more exciting, but like I feel like we haven't really heard or seen anything on it. And then this info comes out and we get new pictures, and that's it. It's like unceremonious as fuck. So anyway, let's go through these pictures, see what we can get out of it. The first picture I have up, hopefully you guys can see all of it. I'm pretty sure you can. Is a PS4 case. It says Dead Island 2 Day 1 Edition. Looks legit, so you know this is definitely real. And in the picture, it shows some dude sitting on an inflatable chair in a pool with some kind of drink. revolver, a katana, and a bunch of zombies jumping into the pool to attack him in the backdrop. You can definitely tell it's like a California backdrop. You got palm trees, you got skyscrapers, and it's a pretty decent looking video game case. It's clean, fresh looking. I like it. Moving on. Next picture, we have a zombie up close. And yeah, his nose is missing. His eyes are fucking gone, and he's missing a lot of teeth. And it's an up-close picture. The graphics aren't amazing, but they aren't bad. And then, yeah, the rest of the picture is all bokeh out, and you can't see it. So moving forward, next picture, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 zombies in the picture, all crowded together and climbing on top of each other. It looks almost drawn, or it's in engine, and if it's in engine, I'll be really impressed if zombies do interact with each other like this, though no way to know, because I haven't seen a trailer, I haven't seen the game in motion since they originally announced it, and yeah, looks pretty cool though. I hope they do stuff like this. That'd be really neat, especially if they can increase the density of zombies, considering that lake that's at 8 player. That'd be very cool. I mean, like Dead Rising a long time ago had a shitload of zombies on screen. So if they can do something like that, that'd be sick. Next picture is some kind of big elite zombie type. He's huge. He's bulbous. His shirt is ripped up, so you can tell he grew from a size that he wasn't originally. And he has these like palps, these like fucking sacs, these things growing off him that are glowing. Could be weak spots, I would assume that's what they are, or could be things that explode, which would not be too fun. He looks really pissed. He's also missing a nose. His ears are look like Shrek, and yeah, he's just standing there looking pissed with the California backdrop. Very hot looking, very power lines looking, with a bus in the background. So all this gives us is we know that there will be some kind of elite monster, and it's going to look like this. There will probably be more. Next picture is a night picture with 4 zombies that look a little more spry than the zombies in the prior pictures, considering the one in the background looks like it's about to start running at them, at the character. And yeah, they look really pissed. There's also another bloated enemy in the background. I don't know if it's the same one we just looked at, because it doesn't look as big as the other one looked, although the camera's lower, so it kind of would make sense. Could be the same one. I don't know. But yeah, looks kind of similar. And the main character is holding some kind of modified wrench with a spiked element to it that looks like it would really fucking suck to get hit by. But they're zombies. They're not going to give a shit. And this is a cool picture. If the game does look like this, I'm liking it. It's got a good look to it. It's vibrant. It doesn't look just like... I got kind of confused when Dying Light originally came out after Dead Island, because Dead Island always kind of felt like an early beta version of Dying Light, because Dying Light has a lot of the same elements as Dead Island. But then it added the parkour, and overall I think it was a better game. It was less janky, made more sense, offered more in sense of content. So I was like, is this just the evolution? Maybe that was the prototype, and then this is where it's going. But then we're getting a Dead Island 2, and looking at them, I can kind of see that there is something to be offered by both. That you can have both in the same ecosystem, whereas one is, I mean, it's zombies, so how grounded could it be? But like, it's a little more grounded. You're running around on the ground, and you're kind of doing more hand-to-hand combat. If it's anything like the first game, you're going to be aiming for limbs and stuff, which I always thought was a really neat system, like aiming for the head, all that kind of stuff. Whereas Dying Light has evolved into Dying Light 2, where you're like running on skyscrapers, doing parkour, creating like interesting, crazy weapons. They are similar, but they are starting to feel more definitive, in my opinion. And this looks like that. So it's kind of cool, kind of interesting to think about. All right, next picture we got is not a number at all. I mean, he might be a number of many zombies, but yeah, another zombie who has eyes that look like he's just not there anymore. No nose, because apparently the nose goes real quick, and no teeth. So that's fun. And yeah, he looks like he's been going through it. Looks like he's been having a good time, and yeah, overall, I just kind of think the visual style of this game, even though the graphics are the best thing ever, are pretty good looking. It kind of has a fresh look to it, which I really dig. I like that it's in this, like, you know, nice weather all the time area of the world where everything's going to look like, oh, it's California, everything's chill, fucking palm trees, nice weather, all this shit, but then there's zombies. It's kind of like an interesting setting for it, I think. Next picture, we have the main character grabbing a zombie by the throat, which I hope is something you can do in the game. It'd be interesting if there's a perk where if a zombie goes to lunge at you to bite you, you can grab them. This might just be promotional. I have no idea. And then the weapon they have in their right hand is like an electrical machete. Maybe it's just electricity. I don't know. I don't see a blade here. Kind of. I think I do. I think it's a machete. Anyway, it's some kind of weapon with electricity, so it's going to be, shock him, stun him. I don't know. The zombie at one point was a cool dude. He's got a gold chain. He's got some aviators on. He's got his hair fucking slicked back with some gel, and missing teeth. Still has his nose. Very lucky of him to have that. And yes, this is in some kind of alleyway with a Ferris wheel in the background, a van that's stuck sideways. And if this is indicative of the environments, I really dig it. I think it's a really cool looking place to be doing all this stuff, even though I'm going to wish to be jumping over those fences and climbing that building like in Dying Light. But this isn't the same game, but it'll probably allow you to jump over things at the very least. So we'll find out. And yeah, those are all the pictures. There's the case again. And overall, I feel mixed about this information because I want to see a trailer. I want it to be official, but this does kind of make it official. If Amazon posted this on accident to pre-order it, I think we are going to see something at Gamescom. It would make complete sense if they would save this for that. I feel like that's going to happen, but I don't know. And it looks like a cool game, though. Like, just seeing the pictures, it looks like a game I'm going to want to play. I liked Dead Island, even though it was a very janky, glitchy game. It was a lot of fun, really cool. I love that it was 4-player multiplayer when it came out. And yeah, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't excited for this. But I got to see it in motion. I got to see what it looks like gameplay wise, because without that, I can't get fully invested. Because I could see it. It's running at 30 frames per second. The combat looks like shit. Like something like that would definitely deter me from being excited at all. But I'm hoping this is what it is. It looks good, and if it's actually 8-player co-op, that's going to be crazy. So, but who has 7 people they play video games with? Anybody? Let me know in the comments below. Let's move on to Redfall. Okay, before we get into the Redfall official behind-the-scenes look with Arcane Austin, I want to remind you guys that Tastycast is coming out tomorrow. So the full episode will be there. Check that out. But then after that, Tuesday, I think that's when Gamescom is happening. We will be doing our stream at the normal time around midnight PST. We work. We'll be getting off. We'll be trying to get the stream up and going as soon as we can. We would appreciate no spoilers. This mostly goes towards people who are in our Discord. Just keep that to a minimum so we can go in as blind as possible and make it more fun for everybody. But we'll be hanging out. We'll be talking, so make sure to join us there. Any more details, I will remind you guys on Tastycast. Okay, so Redfall, official behind-the-scenes look with Austin, Arcane Austin. We're going to watch this 21 minutes, so it's going to be quite a sit. And, yeah, strap in. 3, 2, 1, and go.
Bring us their blood. How do we always get into this?
Now, this game I've been struggling with because I think it looks kind of cool, although it looks kind of cliche. I feel mixed on it because I don't feel super hyped for it. The gameplay we saw was like okay looking, but I want it to be good. And this is a game that I will most likely be playing because it's on Game Pass, so why wouldn't I try it out? But it's the type of game I would definitely play. 4-player cooperative shooter.
Welcome to Redfall.
Maybe we can get some details in this that will get me excited.
Redfall is our effort to take what Arcane does well, a hybrid of first-person games and RPGs, and stretch ourselves a little bit. Does this work in the open world? Does it work both solo?
Because when I think of Redfall, I think of RPGs.
Can we take all our narrative layers and our improvisational mechanics and our style and spread that out across an open world?
The game does have a style, though it's a little cartoony. I'm not too into that.
The most ambitious title that we've tried to do here in the Austin studio ever. It was super important for us to let players still play by themselves and have that sort of like immersive Arcane experience, but then adding up to three other players into the mix, of course, changes everything. Not only from the player experience standpoint, but just from the development standpoint also. The reason I like making the kind of games that we make is because I like playing these kind of games, right? And so
I would hope so.
It's the same reason I like tabletop RPGs too, and it's the allure of like.
Guy low key just admit he's a nerd, dude.
With some dramatic scene. I want to come on these tableaus and sort of like almost ant farm like see what's going on, hear what they're saying, try to suss out what they're doing, and then I want to like jack with it in some way.
It sucks they're showing the footage we
turn the
saw
vampire
already.
loose on them, or put explosives down, or snipe them from a distance, or see some cultist fortress like real far away and try to figure out how am I going to get in there? What am I going to find?
Also,
when I get in
legit,
there,
I think the world looks
That kind of
pretty
stuff is,
cool,
like,
and I think
super
the shooting
enticing.
looks tight. I think
Some
the
of my
enemy
favorite
types
moments
is
are
like
just,
the thing I'm the most
sort of
like meh
observation
about.
how the world changes,
Especially with the
the way
zombies
we
just
spawn
floating and
different
coming at you and
vignettes
doing the same
across the
attack over and over
world,
again.
and you catch people at different points on their patrol route, and day-night changes things, and that's a powerful piece to me. Is like, wow, I feel like I'm in a living world.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the setting of the
And
town of
also in a
Redfall.
weird way reminds
it's
me of
like
Generation
a lot of
Zero,
games you think it's not New York,
which
it's
is
not
weird.
London or Boston or whatever. It's quaint, it's small. Even though it's our biggest game, it feels like small town Americana.
It
And,
does
to
seem really
your point, Harvey, with the time
tight.
of day, like that you can run through this open world so many different times, but based on the time of day, based on different like weather, if the fog has rolled in, it can feel so dramatically different each time. And with the random spawning, you're constantly on your toes and in awe of
A game
some
like
of
this
the
would
ways
need
that the
random
world
spawning. I'm
looks.
glad they're doing
really
that,
gravitated
just
toward
because
a lot
to
of the
be able to
narrative
predict where the
aspects of
enemies
the
are.
world.
Whoa, those guys are always over here.
Readables and getting just
Would
caught
make
up
the
and
game
just like, I'm gonna
feel
read
more
this
and more
thing now,
repetitive.
or like walking through the Ford encampment and seeing a framed newspaper, and then getting close and realizing the full story is actually
Right,
there.
it's something that makes sense.
Yeah, and then you turn around and that person they're talking about is in this picture frame behind
Yeah.
us. That and the forcing myself to take different approaches. I specifically
Fucking
remember
love that shirt.
going through, and I have my one way I go for the first mission every time. This is the way I go across this bridge, go up there. Watching somebody else go down into the lake bed, and there's a cave there that I had no idea. It just like completely blew my mind. and I
Under
kinda-
the choppers crash. Yeah.
That is something that's really
I was even
interesting
thinking as I
too
was
when you
watching
play a
it going
game
the
that's
wrong
like open world and you watch
That's
somebody
how
else
you
play
go.
the same
But
part
it
you
kinda
play
changed how I
completely
approach
different. It's
everything
always really
now.
interesting to
I
kind of
feel
see
like
how someone's brain
I have
works.
the way that I think about, and then I'm actually going to go this way this time, and it feels compelling to do that. So yeah.
If I could add anything to that, or if I could put it into one word, it would probably be like transported. Like, we put so much effort into the narrative, into the world building, environmental storytelling, all that stuff that and it's
Sun
part of
looks
the
cool.
reason the games that I gravitate towards make me feel that way, So I hope players feel like they've been transported to some place that like feels real at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's like that moment.
I don't
in
know
time,
if
like,
I'm gonna feel like
people
it's
have
real
existing
with the way it
relationships that
looks,
you're kind of
but
being a part of.
I
They're not just
appreciate the
people just
thought.
having to pop up, randomly.
Yep.
And one word we've used for this game throughout the whole time is spooky. We're not like a horror game, so I hope there's not jump scares
Yeah.
per se, right? Like there may have
no
been
mimics.
a few. Yeah.
Chevy will be able to
There's
play
been a
it.
few in Prey,
If only he was
so
interested in
I
it.
hope people feel like, they can take the time to explore, but there is still that edge that there could be anything right around the corner. So you're not necessarily standing up in your seat from fear, but hopefully there's that little bit of spooky element that you just never know what you're going to encounter.
The story of Redfall begins with this idea that these like really smart, wealthy biotech entrepreneurs came to the island. They weren't from the island originally. They bought up some property and they started doing some research into
Always
like
the same
longevity
thing, dude.
experiments and life extension and
Umbrella.
things like that. Probably seen stuff like that in the news recently with people doing weird stuff with biotech startups. And that, started to go south
Seen
really
that in the
quickly,
news?
get a little like morally questionable, without giving spoilers away. The end result was they turned themselves into vampires. And one of the distinctives about our game is that the vampires in our game and the vampirism that they have is not, it's not a disease, it's not an accident, it's not something that you can cure. It's not like, oops, I got a cold and let me take this medicine and get rid of it and now I'm back to my normal kind self or whatever. The people who became vampires and the people who become vampires in our game, in a sense, they already were vampires on the inside, right? It's more like a metamorphosis, not a disease that they caught. And so it's definitely this like horrible evil that's like taken hold of the island that needs to be resisted and fought. They're not innocent people that you're trying to save. And they slowly, like a frog boiling in water, they slowly took over the town and consolidated all the power. And that's where players find themselves now at the beginning of the game.
We wanted to do something
Kind of
that was
interesting.
recognizable as vampires, but,
Not too interesting though.
but also a fresh take or a less common take. So, if they don't have fangs and they're not afraid of the sun and they don't drink blood, then they're not vampires. They have to have those elements to be vampires, basically.
I just
but
wish
we
their
wanted our
attacks were
vampires
more
to be derived
diverse.
from science. But we wanted to avoid the crosses, garlic, running water kind of stuff. And in lieu of like, these are vampires that wanted this to happen to them. They wanted to live forever, even at the expense of other people, even if it requires the blood of others. They're horrible monsters.
None of them are romantic interests or aspirational.
Well, they are.
I mean, maybe you're into
They're
them.
like
I don't know.
they're beautiful. Most
Yeah.
of them are beautiful. They're aspirational. It's
Are
like
they?
what they envision themselves, that they're just
Right.
they're great.
It's like their
This
own
chick
ideal
Exactly.
self.
loves
They're
vampires, and
manifesting,
is the reason why
fancy
Twilight was
clothes,
huge.
and, they're
Is
huge.
huge.
It's like what they themselves.
I went to
envision
Forks like
themselves as.
a couple
Idealized
months ago, and
characters,
there were
yeah.
so many people
And
still
who play
there
the game will see the
for Twilight
ecology
shit. It was fucking
of
crazy.
The sort of bootlicking cultists that follow them, that want to be made vampires, and the humans that have been converted, the vampires can modify them in different ways. Not all of them become vampires. Nothing as grandiose as that. Some of them become like different types of familiars that are part of the gameplay ecology, all the way up to the vampires, and then sort of like specialized versions, named versions.
That guy's not
like
even-
the vampire underbosses.
that guy's
and things like
dead.
that. And then we have a series of vampire
Doesn't he have
gods, which
eyes?
are the most twisted.
Did he
most
choose
changed
that?
by the whole process, and those serve as sort of chapter breakpoints across the game.
And the vampire gods are like they have the most power. They're the ones trapping you on the island, right? They've pushed the waters back. They're the ones that have blacked out the
The
sun.
vampire gods.
They're tremendously powerful.
I really latched onto the idea of them.
I'm not
being
going to play this game for the story,
dangerous
just being
people
honest.
Regardless, kind of like you were saying, like they're irredeemable in that they're just being unleashed, and you're showing their true self at this point, right? For me, the cultists gave me a really nice view into the vampires.
Is there other things people turn into when they show their true self, or is it just there's some people who are vampires without being them until they decide to do it through science?
And just how horrible you have to be to even just get to that point. So yeah, and then you could still end up not being a vampire at the end of the day. So which is in some ways showing the mirror of how they are really awful, because they may not still turn you into the vampire.
Yeah, like Harvey touched on this a little bit a second ago, but like the vampires, first of all, the cultist has to want to become a vampire, and then the vampires have to share some of their blood with them. And so like, so I always picture that like some of the cultists are like, I hope I get turned into like a really badass vampire and then I can do whatever I want. But the vampires can choose instead to turn them into these other horrible things. Like one of them is called a blood bag, which is just like this grotesque creature that it's like a vampiric version of a milk cow, but it just produces like excess, bloated amounts of blood for the vampires.
Okay, we got different kinds of enemies.
They're
I'm into it.
thirsty.
But I love the writing for the blood bags is that they exalt in it. They love it. Like look
Look
how
at me, I'm
normal it is.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Right.
Huh,
The
okay. That's
four
like the most
heroes
interesting
that
thing I've
you
heard
get
so
to
far.
pick from to play.
That's pretty cool.
Deliberately, we set out to say some of them are from the island, some of them are outsiders coming into the island, so you have multiple perspectives. And they represent this like spectrum of like different backgrounds, different play styles. Like, if you're, like I gravitate towards Jacob, who is like probably more stealth oriented because he's got the ability to turn invisible. He's kind of got sniper type skills. He's got a raven that can scout for him.
He's fucking
And
what's
all
his
the way on
nuts
the
from
other end of
Borderlands.
the spectrum, you've got somebody super wacky like Devinder, who's like got a bunch of crazy gadgets that allow him to do bizarre things like plant javelins in the ground that spark lightning everywhere or teleport around.
I like that.
Or he has a blacklight power that lets him freeze everyone. So he's got a lot of like area of effects.
I might play
abilities,
him.
And personality-wise, he's just like he's just super gregarious and interesting and just like zany character. He's internet famous, cryptid hunter. So I think there's
Dang.
like with the four heroes, there's a little bit of something for everyone. Depending on what your playstyle is and what kind of you gravitate towards in terms of like personality.
Yeah, and the funny thing about Devinder is I think he actually wants to be on the island to be researching what's happening.
Yeah, it's true. He's happy that, at some level, he's happy that something crazy like this is happening because it validates his like theories or whatever.
I think it's also fun to think about who and why are they on the island? You know, like Layla was living here. She was a college student. Devinder was here for a book signing, right? Lucky him to actually have some
That's a
content
fucking
to capture.
GoPro 23.
Remy, you know, from some of the tricklings of some weirdness happening, she's here because of her search and rescue skill set. And Jacob initially with Bellwether, so
Jacob was one of the bad guys.
you know,
Yeah.
so to have such to
Okay.
really think about.
I was about to say, are they gonna
really
explain his fucking
different
Milky Eye?
reasons for these characters to be here on the island and then build up from that was fun as well.
I think something I struggled with initially, but I've come to really appreciate is that they're not a kit. This isn't just this is the tank and then this is the healer and this is this. You know, there's so much nuance to how you play each of these characters. Like, you know, Devinder, it would be real easy just to say he's the gadget guy, but that doesn't really encapsulate everything that he can do. He has a little bit of crowd control, a little bit of traversal, you know, and then like a big AOE versus like you know, Remy has, you know, Brabant with her, and that kind of has a lot going on there.
What are these
but then
names?
also has, you know, her sticky bomb, and like that's really given me a lot of like joy to kind of
I like the pet,
discover
but
how I want to play these characters.
for some reason,
beyond just
pet
the
builds in
high-level
these kind of
summary
games, it's always like you're just leveling the pet up, which is
So
fun, but
as
you
you're
don't feel
playing
that
through the
powerful. It's
game,
just like you got someone
of
assisting you
course,
killing
there
things,
are,
which is dope. But like
we've come up with a
gameplay-wise,
suite
it
of,
doesn't
like, really
feel
cool abilities and powers for
as
players to
involved.
choose from, just like we did in Prey and Dishonored. You have tons of options, and if you happen to be playing as like if we all decide to play Layla's or Jacob's, my Jacob might not be the same as yours because I may choose to like really drill down into the Raven skill tree and like max that out
Okay.
before I pick any of the other skills.
skill tree is a little bigger than I thought it'd be.
so you
It's
got a
not
lot of
huge,
choice
but it's
there.
not like super small
like,
either. It's not fucking
express different play
Gotham
styles.
Knights small. Although that looks kind of
That's the
interesting
skill
too.
trees, but then of course you've also got your gear. Like we've got special things called remnants you can find, which are like basically magical vampire blood that you can equip almost as like a talisman that will give you special resistances or special abilities related to healing, but it also boosts your health.
It's
So there's
just
lots of different ways that
healing
you
and
can
health
sort of
related. That's
customize
interesting.
your character's build.
Yeah, and there's also ways for your friends to, if you've leveled up certain skills to a certain point, that your friends get to benefit from them.
Yeah.
Like if you're playing Jacob and you level up Cloak to a certain point, I actually can Cloak as well.
Yes. We tried to
Okay,
not
that's cool.
make it so that like this skill only works in multiplayer, or this skill only is useful in single player, but it has the single player benefit, but then it has the multiplayer like add, and if you happen to be playing with friends, it does cool stuff for your friends too, which I think
That's good. That's good to hear because it's cool to have skills and abilities and everybody doing their own thing, but it's always
like,
better
in a horror
when you have
shooter,
things
like,
that have
they're
some kind of
coming for you
synergy.
at all
And even though
times,
it's
so you
just
have to
making
feel
it
that
feel
pressure.
invisible,
And in this
you are
game, I feel
benefiting
like-
the team,
like
so there's
I'm
a
the danger
synergy to that, which I
I'm
dig.
the one who's moving through.
You're trapped in the room with me.
It's also important that's a great point, and it's important to note that like they're unaware of you, so you can zoom in and eavesdrop on their conversations. You can sneak up and listen to two people talk, and then slip away from the encounter. It shares the lineage of arcane games in that sense.
Yeah, that's something that's also been nice about the vampires being the antagonists, is that they're not mindless. They're not just let me run and eat your brain, right? So they're actually thoughtful. They are a bit more of a predator. And also
I wish they
humans are
would be more
terrifying, right? So
thoughtful
the
from what
cultists,
I've
the
seen.
Bellwether
Seems like
are-
they just do a lot of flying,
they're
waiting, and
also
then
more
lunging.
tactical.
Flying, waiting, and
They
lunging.
take cover, they flank you, all those good things.
Would be cool to see
Well, the other thing is like
them do more things.
this is an open world game. You're never trapped in I'm not trapped in this alley and I have to defeat 30,
Just gotta hold
Cre-
out.
Yeah, I don't have to hold out. Like I can do the thing that I do in other open world games, which is like, this monster's too hard, I'm leaving. And I'm gonna go fight these other monsters over here, get a new weapon, level up, and then I'm gonna come back and kick this guy's ass.
Solid
When we
strategy.
started Redfall, we knew we needed guns because this is part RPG, part shooter. And it was fun to be able to work with modern guns for once. We wanted a range from high-end military gear dropped by Bellwether Security on the island.
That gun was like
all
a
the way
weird
down
mix
to,
of like an
Grandpa's
M4 and an
shotgun found in
AK-47.
the
That was
attic,
weird.
Of this old Victorian house. And then some kit bash stuff too. Like in his garage, this person made a duct tape handgun that has a flashlight on it or something, right? So there's ranging from jury rig to high-end military and all that. But very quickly we realized We also needed some vampire-specific weapons. And so the UV beam, which leads to a whole system of petrifying the vampires, from which they can thaw out if you don't stake them. The stake launcher itself, which is like a found ammo type weapon, like broken off pool cues and snapped off mop handles and fireplace pokers and things like that.
Steak knives.
Yeah, and then like flare guns, which you'd find on a tourist island with sailboats and all. They immolate vampires, and so they become like a little fireball launcher. And so
Interesting.
the usual weapons that you love in games, sniper rifles and shotguns and assault rifles and things like that, are fun to play with in our game, and they level up over time, and they have different traits on them, and so you're looking for the
That's
one
cool.
with the right traits that you want.
And they have stakes on the end, of course, because you need to be
Yeah.
able to stake vampires.
Right. Again, every time we
Okay,
tweak
the
our
guns sound
fiction
cool.
in some way, like vampires, it
They
leads
got me
some
there.
systems like staking and petrification with UV light and all that. But in addition to all those guns, we have the set of vampire-specific guns that are unique to the game.
The best stake attachment in the game is the garden gnome.
I'm
You don't like the
partial.
broken guitar neck? Or?
Oh, the broken guitar. I'm partial to the harpoon. It looks like a whaling
Yeah.
harpoon that's been cut off and put on the end of the rifle. So.
It's pretty cool.
We start
Guns
with
look good.
something really weird and fantastic, right? Like Dunwall or Space Station. And then we work to make it so that players can understand the space and learn about the environment. But this time we started with something familiar on purpose. Like everybody gets like a small town, on the East Coast. Everybody understands liquor stores and convenience stores and clinics and neighborhoods. So that part is awesome because you're immediately dropped into something you understand. But then the part that I like is then we twist it, right? The vampires, they warp reality around them with their psychic abilities. So the cultists, of course, build weird structures on top of the familiar settings that you'll encounter occasionally, and then the vampires like punch these holes through reality and make these little pocket dimensions where they like sleep and gather power. And those
Weird.
spaces are some of my favorite because everything's just like bent and twisted into this like sort of Halloween/nightmare version of reality.
And speaking to the size, I think the Talos and Prey was 5 football fields, and the size of Redfall was kind of hold my beer on that one. So we definitely challenged the whole team with making something this big.
Yeah.
I remember early on there was a moment we were working on District 2, which is a little more rural, and Jim McGill took Talos at scale and dropped it in the middle of the farm that's there, and the district just eats the whole space station. Of course, it's gigantic.
It was just the size of the actual like farm area.
Yeah.
And that's just like one mission.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy.
Ultimately,
That's
we
cool
hope
to
that
hear as long as
players
there's
will
shit to
play
do.
Single player, if that's
I'm
what
at the
they
point
want,
now, I
and
think
it will
everyone's
feel
at the
like
point
an
now
arcade
that
game.
the size of a map doesn't
But
matter
it's more
anymore. It's
expansive.
about
It's an
what you
open
can do
world,
in it, how
but it's
densely
not an open
populated
world
is
based
it
on the
with
scale of vehicles. It's an
things to
open world
find,
based
things
on
to do,
sport.
enemies
So
to
it's like a
fight.
familiar setting, New
vacant
England,
world
spooky,
just sucks.
Traverse the place, go into mom and pop grocery stores, apartments, get on the roof of buildings, and we try to put as many environmental storytelling scenes around as we possibly can. And so it just feels very lived in.
I think the thing that's compelling to me about the open world, and this is true in other open world games that I love, but it's just like how easily the player can get distracted, with like some other wondrous thing or some interesting point of interest. Like you always set out with like, I have this goal in mind. I'm going, to the shipyard or the farm to rescue this person or collect this thing. That's my mission. But like it takes me 2 hours to get there because along the way, like a nest popped up, or I saw a vignette with some like cultists who are harassing some civilians that are tied up, or I got ambushed by vampires,
So there
or
are
an
civilians,
NPC
because
gave
everything
me
I've
a
seen so
little
far, I
side
haven't
mission
seen
to go
anything like
check out.
that. So that'll be interesting. I was
There's
gonna say
always
like, where the
something
fuck
along
they
the way
go?
that just, like,
They're
pulls
just
me
hiding in
off
their
the-
houses.
off the
That makes sense.
Beaten path to check something out or discover
Be
something. or loot
convenient.
Something.
They're all just gone.
And that's just tremendously fun.
I'm thankful every day for, like, Arcane is a company where some of us have worked together for 20 plus years or 10 years, or, and there's a lot of cement there socially and a lot of creative chemistry. And
They've been.
even
Has
though some
Arcane
people
been
have left
around
and
for
new
20
people have
years?
joined us and all that. It's been a blessing to have this team and this game and the company culture, and we're in it together. We're gonna get through this. We're gonna ship our game no matter what, no matter what virus hits us or whatever, So, but during this last few years, it's been a blessing.
That's cool. Very cute. Glad you guys like each other. And overall, I liked this. I feel like it had a lot to offer in terms of information. A lot of things I kind of already assumed. A lot of things I knew already, but a lot of things I didn't. We got a little bit of info on the characters or classes, whatever you want to call them, and they're looking pretty interesting. I think the guy with the traps is a lot more interesting than the sniper guy. He's a little too cliche of a sniper guy, in my opinion, but he probably will have some cool stuff. But how many times do I got to play a character that he has a sniper rifle and can go invisible? That's fine. Trap Guy too. There's a bunch of games like that, but they seem pretty cool. The environments look really good, I think. I think the aesthetic of the city or town is really cool. The vampire idea is interesting and different, which I like, and I'm glad they are trying something different. My biggest problem with the vampires overall is their animations and except for when they die, the animations are really good. I like when they're kind of spinning in the air on fire. But their attack patterns, from what I've seen, I could be wrong, don't look good to me. They look very basic and predictable and, whatever. They probably won't be that simple, but they're not doing a good job on showing, how crafty they are when they're talking them up like, oh, they're not zombies. They think, well, do they? Because I'm not really seeing it. But, the other enemy types, though, the blood bag, I think is really creative and interesting that these people think that they've been like upgraded by the vampires, but they're not vampires, but they're just being used as blood bags. That's interesting. I'll give them that. And then the basic enemy types with guns, every FPS has those. I'm not excited about that, but I'm not upset about it either. It's expected. You need something to shoot at that shoots back, so that's cool. Just the vampires, I'm just not seeing why they're that interesting so far, but I'm sure there's a lot they haven't shown yet. Guns sound really cool, honestly. They got a lot of varied types of weapons. When they said you can upgrade them and like level them up and stuff, that sounds awesome. You can pick perks from stuff like that. That's fucking dope. I also love that there are vampire specific weapons like stake guns and stuff. That's pretty cool. That'll make you have to change it up as you're fighting, more dynamically than just going like, well, this gun fucking murders everything, so I'm just going to unload on everything in front of me until I win. So I do dig that, and I do like how creative they got with specific weapon types like the neck of a guitar sharpened into a stake, and harpoon and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. And yeah, overall, I am a little more interested than I was before after watching this, I have to say. I want to see some just pure gameplay, though. They kind of showed that before, but I just want to watch them play the game in a setup way to see more on the game. But because this game's going to be on Game Pass, I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Game Pass. Everything Xbox owns is on Game Pass day one. Everything on day one on Game Pass. I'll be checking it out for sure. And if I like it enough, I'll probably buy it because I like to support the companies that I like. And I think Arcane is no slouch. They definitely know how to make a game. So I'm not worried about the quality of this game. It looks top notch. I know it's going to play good. So that is one benefit they have, is I just know what they're capable of. Arcane has made a bunch of games that are great to play. So definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, I definitely will be checking it out. And I think bare minimum, this game will be a lot of fun to play with friends. So even a basic game that's multiplayer can enhance the game because you're sharing the experience with friends, which is always a lot of fun. So yeah, overall, I am now looking forward to trying out Redfall. I wouldn't say I'm fully hyped, but I'm interested in it. I want to check it out for sure now. This did a good job on elaborating a lot of the things that I was curious about, and now I just need some untouched up gameplay, and I will be set for when this game comes out. But let me know in the comments what you guys think of Redfall. Official behind the scenes look with Arcane Austin. Did this do anything for you? Did it not do anything for you? What do you think about the game in general? Are you interested in it? You're going to say fucking just try it out anyway because it's on Game Pass, and if you got it, why not? Are you not interested in it at all? If you're not, let me know why as well. Of course, no judgment there. And yeah, let me know everything you're thinking about in the comments below. And then, yeah, Tastycast coming out very soon, so stay tuned for that. That'll be a obviously longer form episode where we'll be discussing a bunch of stuff during this drought in gaming. But that's going to change with Gamescom. Make sure to join us for that stream as well. I've been Seth, and until the next episode, have a good one, guys, and take it easy.